let's move past the sort of the biggest games that we're going to be keeping an eye on this weekend. Let's talk a little bit about teams that are getting hot in the Challenge Cup. We wanted to introduce this segment because we finally got, a handful of games, right, to sort of take a look at and survey where we can kind of introduce this new segment. So when we're looking at teams who are getting hot in the Challenge Cup as this second half returns, we're going to be taking a look first here at San Diego Wave FC versus OL Reign. And quite frankly, we're paying attention to what San Diego is doing, right, Lisa? When you're looking at these two teams, who's getting hot, why, and who are you picking in the action?
I love this. I think San Diego is getting hot. We have seen them play against Portland. We've seen them play against Angel City now twice. They're 1-1-1 in Challenge Cup action. They've scored 5 goals and only conceded 4. Just some stat-wise numbers for everyone as we go through this. Because of this, I think that San Diego, coming off of this break, and they also didn't play before the international break, San Diego has had time to work on things, which is what they needed. They had 3 games under their belt, and now Casey Stoney can say, okay, these are the big pieces that over 2.5 weeks we get to look at and we get to focus on and we get to pick out, because she has that time to do that. It's almost another little preseason with a 2-week break that she could work on. Now, of course, international break, a lot of players were gone for San Diego, but also for OL Reign, a different story there. But sticking with San Diego, this is a team that we've seen growth in the first 3 matches that they've played because they're scoring goals and they're doing it in a variety of ways. But also defensively, they're very organized. We just mentioned the international break. Abby Dahlkamper and Naomi Girma, both center backs for San Diego, both gone for the international break playing with the United States, but they got time together in the center back with the United States. So that development was continuing to be fostered between this side. I think that it's the first matchup between OL Reign and San Diego, and OL Reign is hot right now. They're red hot. I think it's going to be a very good test for San Diego. I think that this is where the holes in San Diego are going to be exposed, and maybe they're going to challenge OL Reign in a different way than we've seen Portland challenge OL Reign and Angel City challenge OL Reign. And that's what I'm excited to learn. The holes in San Diego and how San Diego can challenge OL Reign. I think I have this one as a draw heading into this. I want to see a draw between OL Reign and San Diego, a goal apiece. I don't know. Maybe this is wishful thinking. OL Reign's probably going to win, but I'm going to go a draw 1-1.
Listen, I'm not too sure that I want to stray away from that result either. This is a game that I was looking at and kind of went a little bit back and forth. You've got San Diego Wave FC, who I agree is the team that we are looking at and think is getting hot, versus OL Reign that, quite frankly, they are hot right now, right? They are the team that has kind of come out in this Challenge Cup and has looked very impressive throughout their region and the matches that they've been having there. But both of these teams, for example, have some pretty defining wins within the group, but they're both against Angel City, right? And that's a team that I think a lot of people can take a look at and agree that they're kind of struggling to sort of find their footing as an expansion side in the league and sort of get out there and try to put together some soccer in a more sophisticated sense in terms of stylistic things. So we're looking at those kind of wins. And we're seeing these two teams in a team that's getting hot versus a team that is already hot, right? But something else that I want to be looking at in terms of what we see on the pitch is what we might see on the sideline. I'm really excited to see this sort of first coaching head-to-head with Casey Stoney versus Laura Harvey. I'm excited to see how the two kind of, roll their teams out against each other, or what type of in-game adjustments we might see either of these coaches make. Again, this is coming off of an international window. The availability might have something to play, and we saw Abby Dahlkamper get a start, but then be held out of the next match due to she's still working her way back, I believe, from a back injury. But it was really great to see a player like Naomi Girma get that time on the international stage. And then on the OL Reign side of things, there's a little bit of an unknown around Angelina, who spent some time with Brazil. What does she look like? You saw her pick up a knock during the international friendlies with Brazil. So it's a little bit interesting to see who's going to be available or what the minute restrictions are going to be there. When we're talking about two hot teams, I'm going to go with Laura Harvey and OL Reign. I just think that there's more there in the middle third in this game for OL Reign. And a lot of times we see those margins won and lost in that midfield. And I just think a team that had a little bit of an international break for somebody like a Jess Fishlock or somebody like Quinn, who's able to sort of shut things down, against opposition. I think that's going to benefit a team like OL Reign a little bit more, maybe than it benefited a team like the Wave. So I'm going with the winner in this one, but I'm going OL Reign.
Okay, so we also have to talk about player rotations, which, of course, at the time of this recording, we don't know who's out. We don't know that type of status. But because both San Diego and OL Reign play Thursday, and then again, both sides play on Sunday, we could see player restriction and minute restriction and player rotation. If you're Laura Harvey and you have San Diego on Thursday and Angel City on Sunday, and you have to rest certain players, which game are you going to rest them in?
I'm sure that's a conversation that they're talking about right now. I'm sure they're even looking at the opposition. I'm sure maybe they're looking at, they're like, okay, San Diego, Angel City. Who are we going after here? So I think coming fresh out of this international break, I think they're going to take a look at this match, right? Because it's also technically on the road, right? They're going to be going away to San Diego. They've had some great turnout, right, at Terrell Stadium in terms of the fans kind of being able to produce a really cool soundtrack for this team during their games. That's going to come into play too. But I look at this OL Reign side, and I don't think that they're a team that is intimidated by a strong crowd, on the road. They're a team that has a ton of experience with that, right? With their Pacific Northwest rivals and in Portland Thorns, and if anything, it's something that they thrive on. So I'm with you. I'm curious as to what we're going to see from that middle third in OL Reign, because we're not too sure where Rose Lavelle is going to stand in terms of her availability. I would even include Quinn in that. They were away with Canada and the international window, a couple of celebratory games for the Canadian national team. So we're going to see if these players, how available they are against San Diego, because they're playing immediately after this international window. There could be a possibility that they get a rest and then they get a run out against Angel City further into the week, which we'll talk about very, very soon. But I still look at these two matches, and I think with the player rotations, there's a heavy argument there for there to be a draw, but I still think there's a little bit more from OL Reign in terms of their attack, and also in terms of what they got going on the flanks here. I just think that their fullbacks are a little bit more, they're just a little bit more informed than maybe what we're seeing out of San Diego Wave. So I'm excited for it. It's going to be taking place at Lumen Field. Forgive me, I said that they were going to be on the road in this one. They're actually the host in this one because of how we had it written in the rundown. I flopped those over. So I don't know. So maybe that's more added fuel for me as well. If I'm thinking about a win, maybe that's additional rest that they get for themselves. They don't have to worry about travel going on to San Diego. They're going to stay at home in Seattle. And that's something that they can help prepare themselves for when they're kind of tackling a little bit of a quick turnaround this week. So I'm going to stick with OL Reign. There's part of me that says, oh yeah, it could be a draw, but I'm going to stick to my guns and say OL Reign's going to take the win in this one. When we're talking about two hot teams, let's also talk about Washington Spirit versus Gotham FC. We've got these two sides going head to head, representing the East, and we're talking about teams that are getting hot. And I know we're both looking at Washington Spirit, Lisa, in this one.
I am for sure looking at Washington Spirit. The East region is tight in a very different way compared to the West region, because North Carolina came out hot in this region. They have 8 points, sitting at first place, and Washington Spirit with a bit of a slower start, 1 win, 3 draws, but no losses in this Challenge Cup so far. Number 2 at 6 points. Gotham 5 points at third place, and then Orlando Pride bringing up this East region, this Group A, in this matchup. So because we have Washington Spirit going up against Gotham, number 2 and number 3, 6 points and 5 points for Washington and Gotham respectively heading into this match. Washington is a team that is getting hot right now. A bit of a slower start in this Challenge Cup. It took a little bit for this team to get going, get their feet under them. They're dealt with a bit of injury. Emily Sonnet has been out for Washington Spirit. At this time of this recording, we don't know where she is. She wasn't called into the international window for the United States. She's been dealing with a bit of injury. They had a bit of yellow card accumulation happening where Amber Brooks was thrown into the center back position and then dealt with that a little bit. But offensively for Washington Spirit, we're seeing so much more coming from them. They are starting to score a lot more goals in a variety of ways. They're coming off of a 4-1 win last time Challenge Cup action happened at home against Orlando. It was 3 goals and then Orlando getting 1 in the 54th minute and then Trinity Rodman notching another one at the end of that game, which I think is impressive to note that it was 3-0 for Washington. They gave up 1 and then they were able to get another. So defensively, keeping it locked down in that center back position is tricky when you have different players coming in and out, but they can score goals with Hatch, Rodman, Sanchez. They have the power up top. Tara McKeown, she's also a player that's been getting a lot of minutes for Chris Ward in the front line for Washington Spirit. Now, a team like Gotham FC, they are coming off a 1-1 home draw against North Carolina, which frankly was a very good result against the number 1 team in the East region in North Carolina. However, Gotham has only scored 3 goals during this Challenge Cup. That's the second fewest in the competition, only above Orlando. So that's not a lot of goals for a team in Gotham FC that has attacking presence in Purse and Anamanu. They have Christy Mewis as well. They have Monahan. They have players that can score, but we haven't seen it being put together. I have Washington winning this one. I honestly have it as a shootout. I want to see 3-1, 4-1. I hope Gotham gets a goal just for the players' mental health and their confidence on the pitch. I want to see them get a goal. Ifeoma Onumonu had a great international break. Midge Purse, she didn't get a lot of time with the U.S., but she was still called in and she still got minutes. I'm hoping that she can use the fuel of not starting in the international window for the U.S. to bring that to Gotham and say, I need to start. I need to score goals. I need to be an impact player. I still have Washington winning this one. They're just a really hot team right now that are just going to keep going up.
I'm with you on that. I think when we're looking at these two teams that are getting hot, I think depending on the arguments that you're making for either side, you might have different opinions of this one. People might say Washington Spirit are absolutely the team that's getting hot at the right time. I mean, we're seeing their development over the course of Challenge Cup and kind of getting the chemistry that we saw from that attacking line finally starting to show up in Challenge Cup. And then there are folks who might make the similar argument for Gotham, saying that, you know, this is a team that has been fighting for results, right? And sort of scratching out results from their previous 2 matches. But I'm just looking at these two teams and I'm looking at the timeline in which they're going to be going head to head. This is going to be the Sunday matchup between these two teams, a little bit of Easter Sunday action. And it's a little bit on the latter end of the week, right? So we're a little bit further removed from this international break. And we're talking about a Washington Spirit side that, yes, had Aubrey Kingsbury make her a national team debut, had Trinity Rodman score her first goal for the women for the senior level national team, and Ashley Hatch get involved in the mix as well. But Trinity Rodman and Ashley Hatch were players that played very limited minutes against Uzbekistan during the international window. So they're already not they're not already returning, coming into NWSL action on heavy minutes. They're coming in on kind of limited, more restricted minutes, on their bodies. And then on top of that, they're going to be going scheduled for this game on the latter end of the weekend. So I think there might be more availability for this match on both sides when we're looking at the rosters. And because of that, I'm also going with Washington Spirit in this one as a pick. But because of that, I'm also of the belief that this might be a shootout as well. I see it. Let me tell you, Gotham FC, I had them picked to win the East in the Challenge Cup. And quite frankly, I'm looking like I made the wrong pick. I want to see the goals happening from this Gotham FC side. I want to see some more dynamic play from this club. We're talking about 2 late game goals. Back-to-back matches for this Gotham FC side. They have struggled to get on the board early and to stay consistent in the attack. It's been a little bit of grasping and a little bit of sense of urgency down in late game scenarios, which is thrilling and exciting, but maybe not the best for confidence, right?
No.
I want to see a full 90-minute confident performance from the Gotham FC side. And even if it doesn't end up in a win, if you're talking about we're getting a 3-2 or 4-3 type of match, I still think that that's something that will be helpful for this Gotham FC side. So I'm going with the spirit in this one against Gotham, and I hope that it's full of bangers.